I'm very interested in Eels, the band Eels.
Right. Hang on, I thought we were talking about cats.
Let me talk you through this.
Okay.
There's a chap called Mark Everett, who is basically Eels.
Okay.
There's only him in the band.
It's an eel.
Yeah, I'm glad you're pleased with your own joke.
Somebody's got to. It's a hard audience, you know. Pub versus Boardroom. We're still going to discuss whether or not even that's the right podcast title because.
Well, I've not been in many boardrooms. I've been in lots of pubs.
Well, we're turning this into a pub with our, let's call it our first drink of the afternoon, but it's really not.
First drink of the session.
So we've got some answers for the questions that were asked in the last session. So we'll start with that because the father of Elizabeth I was indeed Henry VIII, but who was the mother? Mother was
Anne Boleyn.
Mick Fleetwood. No, not Mick Fleetwood.
It was Mick Fleetwood was the first answer.
Mick Fleetwood was the first answer, definitely not Mick Fleetwood.
But we both agreed that if AI had told us that
yes.
we would have agreed that it was correct.
Probably, yes. That's the danger of AI. But no, the mother of Elizabeth I was, in fact, Anne Boleyn, who also resided locally at Hever Castle, which is about 15 miles from here, 20 miles from here.
We're probably in exactly the halfway point between Henry VIII's home and Anne Boleyn's home.
Because...
Well, Hever Castle is about 15 miles that way.
Yeah.
And Hampton Court is about 15 miles.
One of
that
Henry
way.
VIII's homes.
That way.
Yeah.
And that was his main home. It was before Buckingham Palace was built. So he lived at...
Of course.
Yeah.
You've been to Buckingham Palace?
I've never been inside.
You've been outside?
Front.
Not in the garden, though?
No.
Not invited to a garden party?
My mum's been to a couple.
Okay.
But I've never been.
You go through the palace to go to the garden.
Do you?
Yeah, because there's lots of like coats and security and all that stuff.
I don't think it's a massive deal to get invited to a garden party.
Oh, now that you've worked out that I've been invited to a garden party.
You didn't tell me that you'd been.
Years ago.
You didn't tell me that you'd been.
Well, I gave you inside information by saying that's the process.
AI could have told you that. Well, congratulations if you've been. Why did you go?
So I was 18.
Wow.
Yeah, 30 years ago.
Okay.
And I took a bullet to the Queen. No, that's not true.
You literally carried a bullet and said, "Here's your bullet, ma'am." Did you?
She wasn't.
I think you can get in trouble for
that. Yeah, you probably could. No, I did Duke of Edinburgh's award and I passed my gold. And yeah, so that was in the late 90s, I think 97 I was invited.
Did you meet the Duke?
I was given my handshake and a bit of paper by Ronnie Corbett.
Wow.
Just for comedy value.
Well, honestly.
And I was stood next to my sister. Now, as it came up previously, I'm quite tall, but my sister's quite not tall.
What's the opposite of not? What's the opposite of tall?
Well, I don't like to use the word short. I think diminutive or dwarf-like. You
don't want to use short, but you can use dwarf-like.
Yeah. She's not quite a little person, but to me, she's a little person. She's 5'2". So for most people, that's probably average, but to me, that's tiny. That's like one leg.
Yeah.
So she was next to me, and of course, Ronnie Corbett, who was, when he was alive, was quite small himself. I think only about 4'11", 4'10", something like that. So he made a comment about my sister being a nice size
for him,
for him to talk to eye to eye, face to face, and
he wasn't trying to get off with it.
Then, no, that wouldn't have been appropriate. He was like 2 years older than me, so he was already, probably 60s. And then he came to me and was like, "Oh, you're really not the same, are you? Did you have a taller milkman or something like that?" Anyway, so.
Classic Ronnie
Corbett. And I said, yes, it's a family secret, and now everybody here knows. Thank you very much. And his face went white. None of that is true. No, but we did see Ronnie Corbett, and yes, he was delightful. Also, there were some other like D-list celebrities there, footballers who I didn't know who they was. Rosalind, who I think the children's TV presenter, who was lovely. And
of course, my mum was there.
On the same day, there was a lot of free food, a lot of sandwiches with the crusts cut off.
Nice.
Served in very hot marquees.
Classic.
But yeah, back garden with Buckingham Palace.
Yeah.
Hot. It's very hot. But nice. Yeah. Brian May was not playing guitar that day.
No. Well, I'm glad you had that experience. I've not yet been invited.
And let's see, where else have I been? Balmoral. Yeah.
Were you invited or were you just stalking it?
Well, so sort of halfway between the two. I don't know. That's kind of...
You mean they found you outside and brought you in by security?
Well, no. It wasn't open officially. I was sort of invited. How can I explain this? Okay, so this is before really Balmoral was a wildly established tourist destination. They just started to open. This is 2001, I think, or 2002 possibly, so a few years ago. And they weren't massively established as a tourist destination. And I had a girlfriend at the time who I was trying to impress, and I was working away. So I was working on a theatre tour. So I was on the road, some dates in Scotland, and I thought, well, I'm traveling between this part of Scotland and this part of Scotland. What is there to do en route? So I stuck her on an EasyJet flight to meet me, and then I pick her up in the tour van, which is full of, AV gear in the back. And we start driving away I think it was from Aberdeen, and we start driving into the Highlands, and then the sign for a Balmoral comes up. I thought, well, I've already arranged this in back, so I just don't tell her what's going on, what's going to happen. So I said, oh, there's Balmoral there. Should we go and see it? It's open. And so I go up to the gate and buzz on the door. Yeah, it's and then my name. And then the gate sort of swings open, and then drive, bear in mind, still in a tour van, drive round into the courtyard at the stables. And there, and I say to my girlfriend at the time, oh, that's nice. They're letting us in, even though it's not open. How unusual. I'm still, swinging here along. And then in the courtyard, there is a small carriage with 2 ponies in front of it. Now, I know what the carriage is and who owns the ponies. They're both owned by the Queen, and the carriage, also owned by the Queen, is the one that I think Princess Anne got taken to the church from when she got married.
Wow.
And I said, oh, look, there's the stable master with his 2 horses and the carriage. Let's go and talk to him. So park up the tour van in the stable yard of Balmoral, and girlfriend gets out, a bit confused. I go over to him. I can't remember his name, but I'd spoken to him previously. And I said, by any chance, could we go for a ride? And he said, absolutely, hop on in. So we went for a horse-drawn or pony-drawn carriage ride around the grounds of Balmoral. And so that got a fairly good response from my girlfriend at the time.
Whoa, you can't leave it there.
No, I'm not going to.
Oh.
So, well, I'm not going to tell you what happened with the girlfriend, but what I will say is that it was a bit of coincidence, because I think it was Easter, and basically I rang them up and said, any chance are you open on this particular day? And they said no. But maybe you could, if you're swinging by, you could meet the stable master, because he's brought the ponies up from wherever they live, Windsor maybe, I don't know, because the family's due to come up. And I said, okay, yeah, that'd be wonderful. I mean, that's, anything they were offering, I was like, I'll go for that. How much do you want? And they said, a small amount of money, basically less than flowers cost you. And so I sent them this money. It was like 120 quid or something like that. And I said, yeah, that'd be amazing, because, this is a once-in-a-lifetime experience. So I had no idea how amazing it would be. And yeah, so he literally just needed to exercise those ponies, and having cleaned up that the small carriage and got it out of storage after winter, he just needed to do a circuit. And by pure coincidence, I rung up and said, by any chance, is there anything going on? The rest of the place was deserted. We were literally, apart from the stable master, there was like one other person at Balmoral. And because the place was completely empty, and they were literally just sort of opening doors and closing doors behind us. And so we had free range over the estate and looked in the shop, and there was nobody else in the shop.
Yeah.
And so I was trying to hammer the till into action. So yeah, that was a little tour of Balmoral with nobody else there apart from myself and my girlfriend at the time, long time before I met my wife, and the Queen's stable master with the Queen's ponies, one of whom's name's Star. I can't remember the other one, in this really pretty little, I think it was mostly black, a little sort of trap/carriage. It was open and smallish, but it was, delightful. Lovely experience.
It sounds it. And a lesson for life, that if you ask for things, sometimes you get lucky.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's no harm in people saying no, because sometimes they say no, but sometimes, just sometimes, they say yes. And I've asked for a lot of weird stuff over the years, because I'm a cheeky bugger. As a result, I've had some really amazing experiences. And had you, given me a one-word prompt to say like pony, then that would have probably been the story of
Pony, Queen, Balmoral, royal family.
Yeah.
Any of those. Had I chosen any of those, you would have come out with that story.
Probably, yeah.
What were the chances that I would have chosen one of those?
Very unlikely.
So going back to the lesson from this, I had a very influential French teacher when I was at prep school.
Were they an influencer?
It was years before influencing was a thing. He influenced me. I remember 2 things I remember him telling me, actually more than that. But one was when we were just about to leave, we're 13 years old, and the last thing he said to us when we departed was, kids, don't sniff glue. He was an American. He was a great guy. His name was Bunky. Right. His name was Bunky Symes.
That's not a very American sounding name.
Well,
it's a very 1940s schoolboy.
Yeah, I don't know where. Bunky was definitely a nickname.
Right.
but I don't know what his real name was. And I've Googled him. I mean, I'm guessing he's long since dead. He was probably, I mean, to me, he looked ancient when I was at prep school, but he was probably only 40. So he would be an old man now if he was still alive. I don't know if he was, but yeah, don't sniff glue was one. But he also, then the thing I'm coming on to is he used to come up with some fantastic stories. I'm not very good at French, mainly because Bunky Symes used to spend all of his lessons telling us these great stories.
Sniffing glue.
But don't sniff glue.
Well, that's got to come from experience, right?
It was a big thing. When I was a kid, it was a big thing, a big problem.
Couldn't get
and
drugs.
He saw people doing it. And actually, when I ended up at Birmingham University, I saw people in the street doing it, and it's horrific. It's horrific. But the point of the story is he told us this fantastic story in a French lesson when we were supposed to be learning French about how he had managed to get backstage, or he had basically infiltrated somewhere where he shouldn't have been. And I don't remember the details of the story, but it blew my mind. And basically what he was saying was, and this was his advice to us, with enough confidence, you can talk your way into anything and anywhere.
Yep.
And he had just gone to wherever it was. I don't know if it was a music concert or an exhibition or somewhere where they had security and backstage and front of stage and public areas and non-public areas.
Yeah.
And he had talked his way into wherever it was, just purely by, he didn't have any props, he didn't have any badges or anything like that. And he told us this story and we were all blown away by it. And at the end he said, that's a lesson for you. If you have enough confidence and if you don't hesitate, you will persuade people that you're where you're not supposed to be.
Yeah. So yeah, that's the advice, is try it. So this confidence, this is all stuff that I've had to learn. I was quite a shy, retiring kid, and I started pretending to be confident, and I had a separate group of friends outside of school, and they didn't see me as the shy, retiring kid. And that sort of that confidence gradually actually stuck. Yeah. I become this confident person. It can still vanish in an instant. If, if the right circumstance or the wrong circumstances arise.
I think lots of people have that experience. No, there aren't many very confident younger kids. People have to learn confidence, and it comes to people as they get older.
And I've talked to, having worked in media in past career, I've spent time with presenters, and they're just regular people. They can have imposter syndrome, confident or attacks of the yips, and just terror of the most simple things, and they can develop. If it's particularly exciting what they do, then, if the adrenaline's running, then they need alcohol to temper it. I worked with that on that first tour I mentioned, the chap who was the main part of the show, and it was a one-man show. He would drink a huge amount of alcohol.
Is that right?
Every show. But
after each show?
He was,
not to get him through the show.
No. He was very good. But he was also a consummate professional. So he wasn't getting completely drunk after the show. He was just sort of trying to calm down because it was quite energetic, and he was really great with the audience as well. So while just going back to our conversation previously about religion from last time, he was a spiritualist, so spirit medium, right? Quite well-known spirit medium. He died recently, actually, I think last year. Quite well-known, did a lot of telly as well. And while I didn't concur with his take on religion, or what he presented, i.e. that he was communing with the dead to people in the audience with his spirit guide, he was a genuine, warm, kind, decent person. And I concluded that I was comfortable with that because he gave people hope. And it wasn't necessarily hope or that those people were not suffering, because they weren't. They're dead. The suffering's finished. They're not in pain anymore. But he was giving some comfort to the people that were left behind, who was still alive, because that's fundamentally what they were there for. But he was an entertainer, and he was really good with people. And he never left, ever, after the end of the show, until all of the audience had had their piece of him, which he didn't get paid for. Right. So he got paid for a show, sold out, get 2/3 of the ticket sales, or whatever it was, most of the time, unless you get screwed over by an unscrupulous theatre owner, which he did on one occasion I was there. Yeah. So after the show, he'd be in the lobby with the audience, and he'd be signing, sometimes for 2 hours after the show finished. And also, he'd make sure he'd talk to the manager and say, send the crew home. If there's any overages, so additional union-based fees for any staff, he would take it out of his share, not the manager's share.
Right.
Because he knew that he was the show, and he was the cause of everybody having to stay late. So he said, send as many people home as you can and I'll cover anything else. So while I didn't agree with his religion, he was a good human.
Well, that's an interesting take. I mean, you could have described him differently, I suspect.
I was on the road with him for a year and a half. So I did 3 tours with him. There's 100 shows all across Ireland, Wales, Scotland, and England. Yeah, he was loyal to the people around him.
Sure.
He was loyal to us as the crew. I mean, we had a bad time at that particular theatre where they tried to screw him out of money. They were rude to us as the crew, and there's no reason for him to give 2 monkeys about the crew. But I've seen it in TV land where people don't look after the people around them, and things don't get done as well. But if everybody's dedicated to each other, you pull forward as a team.
Sure.
And he was dedicated to people around him.
He was a team man.
He was definitely a team man, yeah.
So you've been a bit coy, if I may say.
I can say his name. I mean, he's
No. You don't have to say his name. I mean, there are plenty of people like that around. I mean, every pub, not every pub, but you very often see signs outside pubs saying clairvoyant appearing here soon.
Why is there a sign up? People should know.
Because the people have come to see the clairvoyant. The people, the audience, no.
They're not clairvoyants.
They're not, no. That you will know this, I'm sure. There is a brilliant episode of Phoenix Nights where they get the clairvoyant. If you've not seen it, you have to watch it.
I'm sure it'll be on YouTube somewhere.
Yes. It's brilliant. I'm getting one word. He goes, I'm getting one word. Nonce. It's genius. It's genius. But it's very easy to parody these things because most people...
Well, they're not real. I mean, it's another religion. Well, it's another type of...
Yes, but they're remarkably popular. They get huge audiences coming to these things.
Is it entertainment? Is it religion? It's somewhere between the two.
I'd rather feel bad for the people who arrive expecting to actually get messages from their dead loved ones, because in Phoenix Nights, he highlights the facile nature of what he's done at these things. So he'll turn up and you'll go, I'm getting the name Dave. Is there a Dave in the room? Well, amongst any group of people of a certain age, you call out a name like Dave. And of course, if there's not a Dave, does anyone know a Dave? This sort of thing. And eventually, you make things vague enough, and then someone will put their hand up and say, that sounds like me. And then you're just throwing things out there, vague and vague and vague. I should be careful what I say, maybe, but I don't care. There is a large house in the village next to the church, which was, until some years ago, occupied by a TV personality who was famous for doing these things on television. And then rather sadly...
Were they the medium, or did they work with
the lady? No, the lady was a TV medium.
Right.
You would know her if I mentioned her name.
Okay. And did she used to work on the lottery by any chance?
Possibly. No, not her. But another one. You probably don't watch enough TV to know. I wouldn't have known who she was if she didn't live locally. But rather sadly, her husband died. And suddenly she lost all of her powers. And it was suggested that it was because the husband would go out amongst the crowd, sort of scanning them, pumping them all through. But who are you? What's your name? Have you got a daughter? This sort of thing. And then... You're talking to Maureen, and her daughter is called Amanda. Amanda's dog has recently died. So just relaying all this information. It's a complete scam. The whole thing is a scam. I will not be persuaded that these things are real. People who claim
I always saw it as entertainment rather than or actual spiritualism.
Fine. But if you're going to have this and make it like ITV wresling back in the Giant Haystacks and Big Daddy era, where everybody knew that they were acting and they were clearly not very good at acting because they found themselves in the wrong spot on the wrestling ring or whatever it was. You're too young to know this stuff.
So I should know. I remember watching Big Daddy and Giant Haystacks. And
if you're going to clearly make it entertainment and no one takes it seriously, no one used to go to the wrestling and think, I wonder who's going to win, because the baddies always lost and the goodies always won. If you're going to turn up to one of the pubs and treat it as entertainment, the guy's now telling me that, Auntie Ina is in touch with me or whatever it might be. If you know that it's nonsense and you're happy to go along with it, then fine. But I rather feel or believe that there are people that go along thinking that they are actually talking to their dead husband or son or whoever it is that's died.
That's the nature of faith.
But that's appalling.
But they also... So the moral side I struggled with a little bit because... or is it the ethical side? Because you are potentially messing with somebody's grief. And that is not something that people should do lightly. But I tempered that with the fact that the guy that I worked for was really sensitive and very good with people. So he was respectful of people. And he wasn't a...
Well, he sounds like a nice guy.
Yeah.
Right. So if he was nice to you, he was probably nice to the people in the audience. But was he selling his?
I was on stage with him.
Oh.
I had a bit of an odd. So I wasn't.
Were you the woman that was cut in half?
I was a spirit guide. No, his spirit guide was an invisible person who was with him all the time.
Say that again.
So
Say that again.
His spirit guide was with him on stage.
Whoa.
Invisible.
So it wasn't him doing the work. He had someone on his shoulder, like
pretty much, yeah.
An invisible person conveying the messages to him, and then he was reading them out to or repeating them.
Yeah, pretty much.
But only he could see this thing.
Yes, yeah.
That's so convenient, isn't it?
Just to clarify, I was the camera operator.
Did you ever get this spirit on camera?
So my role, because I was filming him, and also so there's a live screen on the stage, right? So it's really simple, black stage, big rear projection screen on the stage.
Oh, perfect for putting ghosts up there.
We didn't do any AV jewelry pokery at all.
Could have done that,
but we could have done. And then when he was talking to people in the audience, I would be filming the audience member or people in the audience. Zoom as far in as possible. They bring up the auditorium lights, and then everybody in the audience could then see the person he's speaking with on the audience. And then if he wasn't talking to them, then it would be I would be filming him, shooting him, and yeah, so that meant that everybody in the auditorium could see who he was talking to. So, and then if he couldn't see them, because some of the auditoriums were big, talking about some of the biggest theatres in the country. So the Edinburgh Playhouse, for example, was 3,500 seats,
wow.
All the way down to the smallest ones. So, for example, down at Folkestone, I think it's about 800 seats, and everything in between. So Edinburgh Playhouse, we had 3 trucks of lighting come in. That was, almost all other theatres got their own lighting rigs. In fact, there was the only one that we had to get lighting into. I spent like 2 days reading lights for us. This is, have all of their own stuff already built in. But weirdly, you talk to people in different theatres, and sometimes they don't know how to use their own equipment. They can literally just do the simplest of things, like turn lights on, turn lights off. They don't know how to program stuff, so it automatically fades. Now, I'm sure that's probably changed these days, but 25 years ago, a lot of that stuff was still manually controlled by somebody who was a union member, and their job was protected. So even if they didn't necessarily have the skills to do it, I'd say, right, just do this, do this, do this. And I was like, I've learned more in the last 10 minutes than I have. Somebody literally told me that. I've learned more in the last 10 minutes than I have in the last 10 years. It's like, oh, okay, now you can do crossfades and pre-program it. Anyway, so yeah, as a result, I heard lots of stories about other performers, like people like Ken Dodd, who had a reputation for hanging around telling jokes until like 2 o'clock in the morning. And the little old ladies.
I know people who've done
falling asleep in the back row, and Doddy's still on stage going, and the staff are still there. And then he had a reputation with money the opposite of my chap, in that they didn't get extra. It's like, you can't drag him off stage until it's like, right, I'm done now after 5-6 hours on stage. Jokes, remarkable. Yeah, so old tiny entertainers, they're a different breed. I mean, I saw Nicholas Parsons, who was host of a show called Just a Minute for 40 years.
Brilliant show.
50 years.
Love it, yeah.
And I was working at the BBC at the time, and I worked for the BBC for about 5 years. And I was I think it was some sort of internal staff event and it was being hosted in one of the BBC's TV studios, which is now a big sort of hotel complex in West London. But anyway, so one of the big TV studios. And so there's about, 250 staff in this big square anonymous box, which is what TV studios look like when you take away the glamour of TV. They're just big boxes, concrete. And out of the corner of my eye, I'm right at the back of this group of people. I see a tiny little old man doddering along, and he's got an assistant walking along with him. I wonder who that is. And I couldn't really see. I didn't really get it. And I saw this little old man walking along to the front of the stage, where Nicholas Parsons is introduced. I was like, oh, that's cool. Because he's amazing on radio.
Yeah.
Listen to Just a Minute. Very funny, very witty. And this tiny little old doddering old man turned into Nicholas Parsons.
Yeah.
It wasn't a stage trick. It was just light on, microphone on, instant magic.
Yep.
So it was a stunning transformation. He wasn't trying to do some stage trick of saying, oh, it was Nicholas Parsons all along. It was just like, no, he was just complete professional, sharp and quick-witted and funny and, charismatic, all of those things. And it was like a little spark of delight had just appeared at the front of the room. And when that happens, it's quite exciting and humbling to be around real stars talent.
He was working right till the end, I think, wasn't he?
Yeah.
And he was well into his 90s, I think, when he died.
Yeah.
My dad saw him. I think it was Nicholas Parsons. My dad saw him. My brother was a very good cricketer. Still is quite a good cricketer, I suppose. And he went to an awards thing at Lord's back in the 80s. And Nicholas Parsons, who my dad hadn't really liked very much on television, come on down and what was it? Price is Right? Was that what it was?
I don't know.
Anyway, I think
Bruce Forsyth?
No, I don't know. Anyway, whatever his shtick was on television, my dad hadn't really taken to him, but he was the speaker at the awards that my brother attended at Lord's, and my dad came back absolutely changed his mind about him. And
when you see really, people like that who've got that level of charisma and wit and intelligence, because they cut their teeth doing, you know, music hall reviews pre-TV in the 1930s, 40s, entertaining live crowds.
Well, Brucey's one of them.
Yeah, I mean, as I said, the Mighty Atom, that was his first stage name.
Was it?
Yeah,
okay.
The Mighty Atom.
And
remarkable history. And he started as a performer when
Bob Monkhouse.
12 or 13.
Yeah.
Bob Monkhouse, somebody else I've seen in a small group, very privileged, live, not performing, just in a group of people.
Still funny?
Very, very clever and funny, yeah, remarkable.
Always working the room, was he?
And just clever.
Yeah.
Really, just, you know, and also if you see, there's a really interesting sort of pseudo documentary of his last stage performance.
Right.
Which was by invite only, and he a group of, I think it was at the Comedy Store.
I think I've seen it.
Invited a group of comedians of about 50, 60 comedians.
Yes.
And then he also interviewed Mike Yarwood as well.
It was called An Audience With.
Yes.
And it was part of a series where famous people at that time, I don't know why they don't still do it.
I think
all the people in the audience were all famous in their own right.
Yeah.
And it was basically a stand-up show for famous people. But they would know, they would be primed about, whoever was doing it would be primed about who was likely to be in the audience. And they could pick on people and they would call them out on certain aspects.
Yeah, do check it out. It's Audience with Bob Monkhouse. It was his final performance before he died. I can't remember.
Well, he died sadly young, and he made videos before he died. I think he died of prostate cancer.
Yeah, I think so.
And he made videos to be shown after his death, advising people to go and get screened for prostate cancer. And very sadly, I saw in the news yesterday that the government decided to scale back automatic testing for prostate cancer.
Which is, well, here's the thing. So if you have any kind of like incident down there, then go and insist to your doctor, say, well, something's going on down there. Can you do an exam? And I had my first experience, I think I was turning 40. And so, you know, they went down there. And have you experienced this?
No.
Right. Okay. So newsflash, it's going to happen at some point. And so, sorry, I just did a unequal adjustment of glasses. So what happens beforehand is you get your referral letter and they say, right, well, come in. And then they give you this stuff called sodium citrate, which is like a big sachet of white stuff that you chug with a load of water, lemon, sort of horrible lemon flavor. And then I think
it's a bit like my hollandaise sauce.
Much more palatable than your hollandaise sauce. No, your hollandaise sauce was fine. So they say so 48 hours before the procedure, because it's not an operation, it's a procedure. Because they say you can only eat white food, so milk, rice, maybe a little bit of white bread, plain pasta with no sauce,
white fish, cod.
Yeah, white food basically. So it indicates there's no fiber in it. There's nothing dark coloured, and they're trying to just reduce the amount of volume of food in you. But they also say don't eat too much, like eat starvation rations, actually.
Just for their benefit or yours.
That's the 48 hours preceding. So 2 days before, for a 24-hour period, very little and only white food. And then in the 24 hours before, so the day before you go to the hospital, you have you have this stuff, sodium citrate, and I can't remember if it's one sachet or two, down it. And then what I can only describe as the most wretched 24 hours of my life at that point, which you spend mostly either on the toilet or next to the toilet, either crying, groaning, or just sort of halfway between, like sobbing wretchedly, because the entirety of your digestive tract is being cleaned out with explosive jets of water that you are producing yourself.
Oh, God.
So, and what they're trying to do is make a more pleasant operating environment for the crew that go in there. So
wouldn't beer have the same effect? I mean, a night on 10 pints will have the same effect.
I would say yes, but in fact, no, it's really not, because they have to make sure that you are, clean as a whistle.
Wow.
Because, there's people going up there, you're going to be... So anyway, so
And you do this for fun, do you?
You definitely do not do it for fun. Nevertheless, so it's an experience.
Some people do.
I think the optional, choosing to do it is a bit of a different, approach. If you have colonic irrigation, that's probably quite a pleasurable experience by comparison. That's warm water, a little pipe, and it's all automated with a machine. This is what I've understood, but I've never done that. Anyway, so this is the entirely medical orientated version. So bear in mind, this is for a reason. Okay, so there was some symptoms there. I wanted to get checked out. So endure this jetpack experience, and then go into hospital, and they don't give you a general because fundamentally they're not cutting into you.
Yes.
So it's just quick warning. We're going to be talking about medical issues a bit more. And so you lie on your side, and you've got a very, very loose, very airy gown. So there's lots of access into various different places. So you're lying on your side, and they lift the gown up, and then you feel a little bit of cold gel that could be applied.
They could warm it up, sure.
They could at least warm it up, just rub the hands together a bit, make it slightly enjoyable. But it's
probably the only fun they get is watching a reaction when they put it on. They probably keep it in the fridge.
Yeah, but the thing is that it's not the shocker of the two fingers, because that's just not, if that's the initial application. It's when you see the equipment that's going in, as small as it is, it's not small, because it's got to go up into.
How does it compare to that?
To that camera. The camera itself, interestingly, is probably about the same size as the ball on this pen. So the camera itself. But the thing is, that
could get lost up there.
But the actual thing you're talking about, it's probably about 3/4 of an inch wide, so 2 centimeters.
Right.
But it's the length that's more alarming, because it's got to go all the way up into your intestine, and your intestine is several feet long.
Yeah, but they're all curly.
Exactly. So it's got to go around all those corners.
Oh my gosh.
Because the purpose is they need to not only inspect that, but while they're up there and got you empty and clean and, fully prostate, is do any procedures while they got you there. So what they're doing is they're taking a look for any lumps, bumps, things that shouldn't be there. And then if they find anything, they will operate there and then as part of the procedure. So I had 2 precancerous cysts removed from my lower intestine.
Right.
One of which was 6 inches long and an inch and a half wide. And that was what had been causing this symptom, that I hadn't realized I'd been suffering that symptom for 20 years. So it had been there and growing for 20 years, which is why it was 6 inches long.
My God.
And they found another one that was just starting to form, which was like at the end of my little finger, which is just a few millimeters wide, but they identified it.
And these are definitely things that were growing there, not something you'd placed there in adversity.
Yeah, I haven't put a 6-inch long thing up. Well, no, I fell, it slipped and fell.
It's that classic thing.
Yeah, I fell off a ladder and then something would no. So anyway, yeah, it was a health warning for me.
Damn right.
So now, apple a day. I actually, I'm very healthy now. So I'm really close to knocking on the door of 50, and I'm the fittest, strongest I've ever been. So I'm vegetarian. I don't drink too much unless I'm doing a podcast, and I go to the gym every week, play a lot of sport.
I'm happy to play a part in that with my asparagus.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Well, and that's providing me with the gin as well. It's got vegetable in it. It's got lemon in it. So
yes, plenty. Yes.
Anyway, so
I'm sorry to hear all of that.
But I'm healthy. I'm fighting fit. So the thing is,
I know, but it's what you've gone through to get there.
It was somebody else telling me. It was my wife telling me, you should get that checked out. So I did, because I thought, it's fine. And then she said, no, it's not. That's something wrong with you. It's like, oh, all right then, suppose I'll get checked out. Talk to my doctor, and doctor referred me straight away.
Well, so
and there we go. So I'm okay. I'm fine.
I'm intrigued to hear your story about that. And my only experience with testing for prostate cancer. So the classic thing back in the day, as we all hurtled towards 40, it was a subject.
You're not hurtling towards 40.
No, I'm going back.
40 is in your rearview mirror.
I'm severely in my rearview mirror. Yes, it's round the corner, and yes. As younger men, my contemporaries and I would occasionally, we weren't preoccupied by it by any means, but the classic thing when we were younger was, as soon as you get to 40, you get the digit insertion, and no one was looking forward to it. But as I reached 40, no one called me in, and I wasn't going to volunteer. And it turns out neither did anybody else. And subsequently, I discovered that there are now different ways of checking for this. So you can check with blood tests now for prostate cancer. So I haven't read the stories they've only recently appeared in the news and over the last couple of days. So I'm not aware as to whether the screening that they've cut back on, they've announced that they're going to cut back on, is to do with the blood tests or whether it's to do with the digital manipulation tests. Right. But also, I don't know whether I've missed it. I don't know whether there was a screening program that I was called for.
Talk to your doctor.
Well, this is it. I haven't been to
The-
see my
right.
doctor for you. The last time I
So
saw my
this is-
doctor, I was
this
taking one
is-
of my kids in.
This is the male bravado.
I haven't got bravado. I've got the opposite. What's the opposite of bravado?
Terror. Go and see your doctor. Go and say, I'm a
I'm
man
not
of a certain
terrified.
age.
I'm not terrified.
Okay. So, well, look, we're talking about a critical, life-threatening disease which kills men of our age.
Yes.
Why have you not had that difficult conversation with the doctor? Because the doctor, it's not a difficult conversation with your doctor. Your doctor will have that conversation twice a day.
I mentioned earlier, it may have been off camera, that I had been taken, it was off camera. I went for one of these things that they call it, like an MOT, an old person's MOT.
Yeah,
It was my second one. My first one was done around 50, and then 5 years later, I've gone for a second. And in my first one, I seem to remember being told that the blood test that they do, they take the blood from you at the start of the interview, for want of a better word, and then they analyse it. And they check you for all sorts of things in that blood. That blood does all. And one of the things, and I may be wrong, I thought one of the things that they were checking for was prostate cancer. So I've got to tell you, would you like...
It depends on the types of tests that are being run. So
Well, of course.
so if they take, blood is used up on each test, and they've got to make sure that they order all the tests that are required for that blood batch that they take.
They do it there and then on a
Yeah.
machine,
Okay.
and they test for all sorts of things, including cholesterol and liver disease and heart stuff. So at the end of it, you're only there for 20 minutes, but at the end of this thing, they turn around and say, right, the analysis has been done.
You can't.
Your cholesterol, surprisingly not. So I told you earlier, they weigh you and measure you.
Yeah.
And they came up with too high a BMI figure for me because they misread my height by an inch, which I did tell them about.
Yeah.
So my BMI is actually
Size
lower
is
than me.
important.
Very much so.
Did they measure your
On your
width?
BMI? No, did she measure me around the waist? She may have done. I can't.
I said width.
You know,
Waist,
that-
I don't know.
anytime
I was
you're on,
being crude.
anytime you're, oh, I see. Anytime you're on the plane and they offer you the extra extension on the seatbelt, that's not good, is it? Hasn't happened to me yet, but it's not far away.
I had to go the other way. It's length for me. It's
Is it?
problem. Yeah.
Yeah.
Always extra leg room.
Yes. Well,
Yeah.
you and I share that same thing.
Do we though?
Yeah.
Do we?
Well, we'll find
I
out.
once did go on a long haul flight to, I want to say Canada, did not have extra leg room, and I was hallucinating for probably about half the flight because my knees were up by my shoulders.
It's awful, isn't it? And getting worse, by the way. Either I'm getting taller or the seats in the planes are getting
you
smaller.
see that? More alcohol? Yeah, go on then. We've drunk half a bottle of gin.
No, we haven't. Howard already started this last night.
Oh, that's all right then.
So it's two of us drinking.
And I had noticed that actually there are a couple of airlines, short haul airlines, that they're fitting sort of thinner, narrower seats.
I've noticed that.
Which is making more legroom. So that's actually a good thing.
Well,
So it's
only if they give that legroom to the people that need it. If they're saying we've got thinner seats, therefore we can put more in, it's
Yeah.
still a problem, isn't it?
well, then it becomes a loading problem because you don't want too many people. Because the seats, if you add in, you take out 4 rows, or sorry, you add in 4 more rows by squeezing everybody together, you're adding probably another ton of meat in human meat.
I know,
for
but
them, and another
the engineers
half
can
ton of
overcome
aluminium.
that. They just need stronger engines.
But then it burns more fuel, and then anyway. So let's crack on with specific things.
Well, no, I haven't told you the funny story about my latest visit to my Wellman experience.
Yeah.
Well, I've forgotten it now.
You've been weighed, you've been measured, and what's the end of that quote? You've been found wanting. That's. Can you name the film that's from?
You've been weighed, you've been measured, and you've been found wanting. Is
You've been found. You've been weighed.
Is- it a carry-on film?
No.
Is it a
Heath
comedy
Ledger
film? Heath Ledger. Is it a Knight's Tale?
It is a Knight's Tale.
Okay.
It's a wonderful film.
It is. Was that his last film before he died, apart from the Joker one?
No, he did that quite a bit earlier. He did a few films in between, I think. He was just sort of on the up when he did.
I did like A Knight's Tale. I thought it was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
The music as well was very good.
Yeah, Queen.
Queen, most of it, yeah.
Yeah.
It wasn't just Queen, I don't think, was it?
I think most of it was great.
Or was it?
But
Okay.
again, like
Right.
Highlander,
Mm.
a lot of Queen.
Yeah.
Good rock and roll.
Yeah.
Right, so you forgot your story, which is good. So let's go into Weird Corner.
Oh, all right.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
on.
Do a different one.
Yeah.
Well, you say you're not very good at sports, so let's give you a sports one.
Oh, no. Well, because I was a sports presenter on a hospital radio show for some reason, and then not deliberately, because I didn't know who the sports people were, I'd mispronounced their names. So my go-to shtick now, my lifelong habit, well, certainly for the last 20 years, is if anybody talks really passionately about a football club, like, for example, Crystal Palace, who just won a big game in something this week, I'll go, oh, well, that's nice. Or they're really excited about a tournament starting. It's like, oh, that's nice, like the World Cup. I'll say, what sport? Or Crystal Palace, Right, what sport do they play? So just deliberately, and
Nobody is that.
people just blue screen. They go, huh? Anybody who's really into sport, I was like, I'm really sorry, but it's just not for me. I love playing sport. I just, apart from Formula One, I don't watch it. I'm not going to apologise.
Well, here we are then. Now,
The age of these pub quiz cards is probably about 30 years old.
yeah, they are all warped.
Yeah,
Ben. Yeah, but I think this is a question for the ages. What events are competed in by a biathlete?
Shooting and skiing.
Again, you're going to have to look it up.
That's that. I think that's.
I always thought a biathlete was somebody who sleeps with men and women in the village.
Hey, what number is it? What number is it?
1086.
1086.
Which is also the year of
Skiing and shooting.
Well done. Well done. 1086. What happened in 1086? Come on.
The year of the Doomsday Book.
Well done. Very good.
So, yes, really important historical book that was recorded of all of the local.
You don't have to explain
wars.
more. Yeah.
Well, I mean, a lot of people won't know and will think that it was written in 1060.
Did you say a lot of people?
A lot of people.
Who are these lot of people?
A lot of people will think that the Doomsday Book was written in 1066 when the Conqueror invaded, and not 1086, 20 years later. Well, they needed to know where the money was. Yeah.
Yeah. By the way, in the last episode, if such a thing exists.
Previous episode, not the last episode. This is the last episode.
All right. In the previous. All right. Okay. Don't be semantic. You were talking about tithes, and it occurred to me, and I didn't say it at the time, but it occurred to me that those were the glory days when you only had a tenth of your wealth taken off you by the church or the state, because a tithe was a tenth. So you were able to keep 90% of all your possessions. Whereas now, I think the tax take now typically is 30%.
It was less money though, but the economy is built differently now.
Of course it is.
So it's not feudal. All land is not owned by a feudal lord. Land is now owned by the crown.
Not very much.
Below spit of a spade. Everywhere is owned by the crown.
Are you talking about, so I own the freehold on this property?
Yes.
Where we are now.
Down to the depth of a spit of a spade, and then it's the crown's.
So, but that only applies if they find coal or oil under your house.
Nope. It applies full stop. So below a spit of a spade depth is owned by the crown.
What practical detriment does that have to me owning my house?
Specifically, so you own the land the house is on.
Yes.
If you dig a hole, you own the hole, and from the bottom of the hole down spit of the spade. So it's a hypothetical thing that you can never touch.
So my question remains: what practical difference does that make to my life?
None whatsoever.
So it doesn't matter,
unless you are, for example, Mohammed Al Fahid, who, when he was alive, so again another local house owner, when he was alive, he had a house up in Oxted, near Oxted, and he took the government to court because he wanted to put out an oil well, get permit for an oil well underneath his house, and the government said no because it's the crown. They didn't want to.
But only underneath the bit that you've dug. So he could probably dig his oil well.
Well, but you have to be granted a license to do so.
Yes.
And there are oil wells around in that area.
Well, there's an oil well at Horse Hill.
Yeah, there's oil wells.
They're not allowed to use it, but there's an oil well there.
So there's nodding donkeys in these narrow hills.
Yeah.
Extracting fossil fuels still, one lorry a day. That's all it is. But
what are you doing at the end of this? Because I've got a couple of spades in the shed. We can see if there's any oil under the house.
Guarantee there is oil down there somewhere.
Anywhere where there was dinosaurs, there's oil. They're just concentrated dinosaurs, aren't they?
Not dinosaurs.
What?
It's not dinosaurs.
Dinosaur juice. Everyone knows oil is dinosaur juice.
It's fossilized other stuff, but it's not dinosaurs.
I'm going to say it's dinosaurs.
Okay.
There's not a lot of evidence for dinosaurs, Most of it's plaster of Paris.
Copies thereof. Yeah. So have we got through 3 questions?
I don't know. What else did you...
What was the next question?
Oh, I had a really good question for you.
Okay.
I wrote this down earlier. Please tell me all of your lifelong nicknames. Anyone who's been on the planet 50 years is going to have a collection of nicknames from different social people.
Not really.
What, not even Al? Does no one call you Al? Alexander? I mean, they're not nicknames. They give you names.
I mean, if I was a child in trouble, I might get my full name.
So hang on. You've got to the age of nearly 50 and no one's ever called you by anything other than your name.
I've had plenty of insults.
Can I tell you, you've joined the wrong cricket club if you don't want a nickname?
No, I know I'm going to get nicknames. That's, de rigueur for any kind of sports club. But
so you've joined a number of sports clubs. If you're saying then that it happens at sports clubs, what are your nicknames from your sports clubs?
Well, I mean, a lot of the time, just Big Al or Al.
Big Al.
Yeah.
Big Al.
Yeah. Or Big Man.
Was Big Al given to you by the prostate people?
No, it was a tiny blacksmith who is possibly the strongest person I've ever met. A guy who
who are you, Thor? What do you mean a tiny blacksmith?
I played cricket with a really delightful man called Jez, who I played with in Somerset. And he was a blacksmith. He is a blacksmith.
Right.
And he sort of fell into it. And yeah, you can go
Fell into what, the fire?
Luckily not, because he has a very impressive moustache.
Of course.
And I used to drive to cricket with him and another chap, Andy. And yeah, he both of them would call me Big Al.
Was his nickname Anvil Andy by any chance?
No, he wasn't a blacksmith.
Oh, right.
It was
Okay.
Jez that was a blacksmith. Yeah, had lots of great stories and very impressive moustache. Spin bowler. Small, wiry, tiny man. He was like, I don't know, he is probably 5'4", probably the strongest person I've ever met. And he was small and
He was a foot shorter than you.
and a foot shorter than
And he christened you Big Al because he was only 5'4". But surely everyone was Big something. Big Chris, Big John, because he's only 5'4".
Yeah, but I mean, maybe he's a bit taller than 5'4". I don't know. It's very hard for me to judge people's height because everybody's short. You say that as a tall person in denial.
No. I can see how that is. I can see how that is. But
I've been your height when I was like 13 years old. And
Yes.
then I moved past that height because it wasn't good enough.
Alex, you're talking to me. You're talking to me like I'm considerably shorter than you. There is not much between us, and I do not have problems judging other people's heights. I can see what heights people are.
But
You
I'm
seem to be
far above that.
No, you're describing it like it's some sort of disability or inability to.
How many scars do you have on top of your head?
No one's ever told me because I've got a full head of hair like you.
Have you ever shaved your head?
No.
What about when you
Have I ever?
Wait,
Sorry.
sorry, go back to the drug show competition. The previous episode.
Oh yeah. Well,
So I shaved my head as well.
So we're about to get company. Hang on. I need to. So anyway, hopefully she won't disturb our recording.
Right.
I shall wave frantically outside. Scars on the top of my head. I don't think I've got any.
So same incident as the drag show. Shaved my head. And because I was shaving my head in order to wear a wig, which was a rather attractive red-ish fob.
Yeah.
So yeah, and doing so, rather surprised by the results of finding the top of my head was covered in scars from where I had grown, not been aware of my own height, and walked into
Oh, I
door
see.
frames. So
But did your hair not protect you?
they scarred. So I was clunking myself, my head, the top of my head, into door frames.
Did you
And
grow up
how
in?
tall are door frames, Jim?
I'm going to guess I can walk through them without having to duck, but not by much. And sometimes I feel my hair bristling, particularly if I haven't had a haircut for a while. So I'm going to say that a standard door frame is 6'5".
6'6".
6'6".
Yeah.
Oh, I'm taller than I thought. Either that or I've got longer hair.
Yeah. So of course, at the top of your stride, you can come in and say hello if you want. Just get it off.
This is my second one.
Yeah. I met the girlfriend though. Yeah. Yeah. So
Bad apologies for that. She wasn't briefed.
I've lost the track now.
About door frames being 6'6"
Yeah,
and scarring
6'6".
your head when you've grown too quickly.
Yeah. So at the top of your stride, you're a little bit, maybe an inch taller than you normally are.
Of course,
So,
because your heel is off the ground with your toes propelling you forward.
So hence lots of scars.
Well, I'm sorry to hear that. I don't think I've got any because A, I'm not as tall as you, and B, I'm not as clumsy. I'm probably more
I'll
aware
take
of
both of those. Yeah.
probably more aware of my surroundings, I think.
Yeah.
But I'm sure I will go bald one day, unless I die first, and then we shall see what scars are revealed at that time.
Yeah.
But I'm still quite proud of my hair. I've still got plenty of it. Look,
Yeah.
even at the crown, I'm still
That's pretty good.
okay.
Right. So another question.
No, we haven't answered. You're still on
What's the-
lifelong nicknames. Have you not got any?
I'm gonna.
Big Al, is that the best thing to
That's
do?
pretty much it.
You're nearly
yeah.
50 and you've got there with
Well, I'm going on
Big Al.
the cricket tour, and I figured somebody else is going to call me something. So
We're already there, mate. We're already stacking them up.
I've just put Gigantor down as the name on the back of this.
Giga. Well, lots of people knew you as, I'm not sure if you want me to disclose your initials of your double-barreled name, but lots of people have been guessing at that, and it's resulted in a few amusing guesses.
I long
Mainly me, I have to say. I say
So
people,
my
just me.
surname is LV.
Yeah, I know. It's a
That's
great
the
name for a
initials.
cricketer.
Yeah. Well, the reason is for the last year or so, I've been working in defence. So that's the
You don't want the Russians after you, the Novichok Russians.
I've had the security briefings in various
Have you?
places. Yeah, I've been to other
Are you-
countries where they say, right, security briefing time,
Are you subject to the Official Secrets Act?
and no comment.
You're not allowed to say.
No comment.
Look at the grin on your face. You so are. So odd.
So when
Are you not even allowed to disclose whether you're subject to the officials?
that is
Because I
correct.
can tell you that I am, and I am allowed to tell you that I am.
Well, you're in local government. That's
Or I could be lying.
But so I can tell you an experience that I had when I was younger, where I was presented. So I'll tell you my father's experience first.
Sure.
So my dad worked in the National Health Service, and then he worked in local government, and he's been there for about 20.
As a spy?
No. So he said, "Oh, I've signed it twice," and I was asked to sign it a third time. And he said, "I'm not going to sign it again, because if you don't know I've already signed it, then what's the point?" But the daft thing is,
Yeah, that's a good point.
the daft thing is that you don't have to sign it.
Right.
You're already subject to it.
I see, automatic.
And even if you did sign it, you can't acknowledge that you have signed it in a public forum, but you're already subject to it anyway, whether you signed it or not. And when you are first, hypothetically, if you can imagine going to an interview of some anonymous government department.
Have you been given a bad reference at this point?
I don't think I don't know.
It's illegal, you know. I interrupted you. Sorry, carry on. You've gone for a job interview.
Hypothetically, if you're asked to sign the Official Secrets Act, if you're at some clunky old government department 30 years ago, it's not going to be a beautifully printed document. It's going to be something that's been Xeroxed 50 times and is barely legible, and is only on the essential, cut out bit of paper that some secretary has managed. So it's not going to be a really mystical, exciting thing.
Disappointing.
And I would imagine that things are slightly more advanced than that these days, because you have lots of different types of clearance and checking of individual. And I can tell you that I have a more thorough level of checking upon me for my sport, my badminton umpiring, coaching, and my cricket umpiring and coaching than I do for my job.
Wow.
But for my job, I've been to interesting places and done interesting things.
Right.
And met interesting people.
But the admin is less secure than the ECB's safeguarding.
Yes.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
But they check other things as well. But fundamentally, but I have, my clearance level is very low. So it's okay to say it,
And the whole story of the Mandelson thing rings true with you, that they really didn't vet him or do anything.
I have no idea. It'd be appropriate to do so because
you're bound by the Official Secrets Act. So you're not allowed to say anything about Mandelson.
Well, the thing is,
you're allowed to even acknowledge that Mandelson exists.
But he doesn't.
He doesn't.
No.
It's all a projection. Is it like the medium's thing on his shoulder telling him? Is that a Mandelson thing?
Schrodinger's Mandelson.
Schrodinger's Mandelson. That's an interesting concept.
What, does Mandelson exist? Is he in trouble or is he not?
No,
speak to him and then you'll get into trouble. I don't know.
The whole Schrodinger's cat thing. We've got time to talk about this.
We are no. We don't.
Next time.
In fact, I'm going to miss that.
Schrodinger's podcast.
Well, let's carry on, and then I'll just get the next time.
Okay, but I do need a piss because we've drunk vast quantities of gin.
So Schrodinger's cat.
So Schrodinger's cat
is not about what most people think it's about.
No, I know. No, I absolutely right. It's about molecules, and so I'm very interested in Eels, the band Eels.
Right. Hang on, I thought we were talking about cats.
Let me talk you through this.
Okay.
There's a chap called Mark Everett who is basically Eels.
Okay.
There's only him in the band.
He's Eel.
Yeah. I'm glad you're pleased with your own joke.
Somebody's got to. It's a hard audience, I put stuff in the group chat, on the cricket group chat. And they say, there was one the other day.
Someone said, don't be so harsh on him, because nobody responded at all. Someone said, leave him alone.
I made some comment. I've been literally underground all day. So I came out of where I had been working in this very sterile environment, underground, not having seen how bad the weather had been, and come out, got straight on the train, got home, was sort of looking at my laptop, whatever, hadn't noticed it had been absolutely tanking it down everywhere across the whole country all day. Yeah. And then said in the group chat, did you know that it was rain?
I know.
It's like, well, everybody else has seen the sky today.
Without the context, yes, I agree. So, There is a chap, an American chap, he's a few years older than me, called Mark Everett. He is the genius that is Eel. But he's had quite a sad life, in a way. He was one of two siblings, and his sister killed herself. His mum is deceased as well. But his father, very interestingly, was called Mr. Everett Sr. Forget his first name.
I really struggled
What
to
is
stop
his
myself
first
from
name?
saying Daddy Eel.
Daddy Eel. So Daddy Eel, when people talk about this concept of parallel universes.
So was he an elver?
Mark was the elver. He was the elder elver, the eel. And I wish I could remember his name now. It was something like Colin or something. It was like an old-fashioned
Very rock and roll.
Because he had his son, Mark, very late in life. And he had been a scientist in the sort of I think, 50s and 60s. Died quite young.
Probably because he was a scientist in the 50s and 60s.
Yeah, no, he wasn't.
What's that glowing thing taste like?
Well, he was a physicist, so largely theoretical in America. Yes.
Oh, did he work on the
Eels is an American band,
right? Okay, this is another one of mine.
Do you not know? Do you not know? You'll know their songs.
No. Music, sport, that's another topic. No.
Oh, right. Okay.
Ask me a music question. I probably know the answer, but I wouldn't know.
There's a great documentary on the BBC. I'm sure it's still on iPlayer, and I watched it because I'm a big fan of him and his music. But it was far more interesting than that. And it's talking about, he went back to rediscover what his father had done. He'd always known that his father had been this amazing scientist. And people talk about parallel universes. Well, this came from his father, whose name escapes me, who developed this whole concept of, it's to do with the double slits experiment, and which is all linked into Schrodinger's cat. So Schrodinger's cat is about half-life of materials, I think, isn't it? Yes. It's about radioactivity and the half-life of, because it basically describes that a material can be in two states at the same time.
A quantum state of a subatomic particle.
Yes. And in order to demonstrate this, Schrodinger said that a cat is in a box which no one can see, and it's because of a hammer smashes a vial of poison which immediately kills the cat. Yes, and that is because
it doesn't know whether or not kills the cat.
Yes, and it's something to do with. There's also something to do with whether the experiment is being observed or not makes a difference as well, which is just bizarre because you think as a passive observer of something else that's happening, you play no part in that unless you intervene, obviously.
Yeah.
He extrapolated from Schrodinger that if things can be in different states at the same time, and that applies to everything from a subatomic level upwards, that therefore you get this sliding doors moment, for want of a better expression, where certain things are happening, but they're being replicated. But on every single decision that is made, or every single thing that could go one way or the other, in different worlds, they peel off. And the two things happen, but differently in each world. And so you get an infinite amount of worlds where we both exist. But today, in our world that we're in now, you got on the train and came over here to make this. But in another parallel world, you didn't. You didn't get the train. And so I didn't come home early from work to do this, and you stayed at home. And then that extrapolates to various other different, that just issues out like a shockwave. And that all goes back to Schrodinger's cat and the experiment that was done there. So I fully advise you to look this up. I can't remember what it's called.
There is a big problem with it, though, is that it's bollocks. Because
it would seem to be bollocks, yes. But it's fascinating to consider that it might be true.
So from a hypothetical standpoint, it's great to extrapolate realities based on small observable truths. But the problem with it is that once you start extrapolating the realities, like, okay, so where are the infinite universes existing in the parallel worlds, the multiples of you and I doing podcasts, telling jokes that are either funny or not funny?
Largely not. It seems to me that you're right, and he died largely in obscurity, and he was rejected by his peers at the time. But people have since revisited it and thought,
many good scientists have done so.
There is mileage in this, and it's possible. It seems unlikely to me, in the same way that religion seems unlikely to me. But if there is a faint part of the back of my brain that says possibly, because I don't understand string theory and I don't understand quantum physics.
I think you're in quite a large group of people.
I would imagine so.
And I would join you in that group.
Thank you.
So we've got that in common. So there's something that we have on the same side. We need to wrap up.
Before we do, just quickly, did you ever watch Brian Cox's thing from Manchester University where he gave his lecture to the stars, A Night with the Stars?
I think I did.
There's a bit at the beginning of that where he explains, and he explains it really, really well, how moving a material on this side of the universe moves it also on the other side, and that they have a relationship from one side of the universe to the other. It's really hard to get your head around.
And is that it's not chaos theory?
It's string theory, is it?
That's the string theory. Okay.
I think so.
Well, I'm glad I don't understand it because I've already flagged that. So I think I'll leave that. But I did see at in the National Space Centre, which is near Leicester, there is
it's up the M1, isn't it? You see it when when I go home, I see it.
Yeah, go. If you've never been, go. They've got really interesting. They've got a Soyuz there.
Does it mean I've got to go to Leicester?
No, you don't have to go to Leicester. Just go to the National Space Museum.
I'm happy to do it if I don't have to go to Leicester.
There's a couple of there's a little toy village nearby as well.
Gallagher's Kingdom.
Anyway, so go to the National Space Centre. Worth it. Lots of interesting stuff about weather, if you're a weather nerd. Lots of interesting stuff about space travel, because they've got rockets there, including the space program that Britain ran before the Americans took it over.
Okay.
Blue Streak.
Right.
and all about the rocket range at, I think it's called Woomera, Australia.
Woolloomooloo.
Mm.
Is Woolloomooloo a real place?
And I don't know, look it up, Google it, or ChatGPT it if you want.
It was where the universities where the Bruces lived, the philosophers Bruces, the ones that sang the song about the philosophers. Anyway, that was Woolloomooloo. I'm sure it was.
But for me, the thing that I most enjoyed was an explanation of where atoms come from, and that is heavier elements.
Yeah.
So not just the hydrogen atom, which has got is very simple.
It's very light.
It's
Yes.
very small, very light. It goes up vertically at over 40 miles an hour. If you let a hydrogen atom go, it'll probably go through the ceiling.
Take my roof out.
Yeah.
Do with a good insurance claim because I need new tires.
But it'll be going between all of the other atoms.
Oh, yes, that's a sad thing, yes.
So very light, very active. Anyway, and it explains really well in this projection shows the dome how heavier atoms basically are stardust. They've gone into a star, gone through nuclear evolution, fission, fusion, and then they've bonded with other atoms and become heavier atoms.
Water. Yeah.
Well, water's a molecule, not an atom.
Yeah, no, I know, but it's bonded with other atoms to become a water molecule.
Yes. And various other atoms. So atoms are evolving and changing into other atoms because they've been through stars. So, for example, gold has been through stars several times before it's blasted out and that star dies, and then gold is blasted through the universe and then coagulates where it lands.
We're all made of stardust.
Exactly. We are, in effect, we're all stardust. Even the hydrogen that's coming up from stars.
I think it was Moby that said we're all made of stars.
Well, he's
Wise man.
He's a smart cookie, yeah.
He's got scars on the top of his head.
I don't think so, because he's quite short.
I've seen his album covers. He's going through cat flaps, though, don't forget.
That is a good place to finish.
Well, it's been a pleasure again.
We're going to get a lawsuit. We're going to get a cease and desist. I do not.
I've slandered so many people, including the local medium, who will already know that I've slandered her.
Is it untrue, though? Is it slander? You're entitled to your opinion.
I'm giving her a bad reference, I know that.
Well, I mean, she applied for a job.
Well, it's been a pleasure, Alex. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Jim.
I've really enjoyed it. It's been fun.
Yeah. Okay, so to wrap up then, Moby goes through cat flaps, which is why he's got scars on his head. If you want to throw us some questions or comments, please do share the podcast, drop us a message, like it, and don't forget to subscribe. Toodaloo.
Today's podcast is sponsored by Gordon's Gin.
Chin chin.
Thank you, Alex.